What's going on, peoples? Work is coming back slowly but surely. Slower but surer. And wanted to rap to y'all for a second. Yesterday, I made a status about. Don't mind me. I'm still a little disheveled, but I'm not at my destination yet, so I keep it a little loose till I get there. But yesterday I made a status of saying I wouldn't call Nick Cannon corny anymore, and I still won't, because I guess Professor Griff made some statements against Jewish folks that the Jewish community didn't really take too kindly to. And Nick was just co-signing it, and as a result, Wildin' Out, the show got shut down. Viacom dropped him, and I think they dropped him from the Masked Singer as well. And then Nick's whole position was he was standing on his square, saying that you can't fire a boss, and people gonna hold me down, and whatever, blah blah blah, the rhetorical thing that black folks with money say when they're facing opposition, and it sounded good, and I was behind him, man. But today he gave this apology, saying he needed it. I didn't watch the apology yet. I'm gonna watch it, but the gist of it is that he feels sorry, he regrets what he said. From what I'm gathering, it sounded like a publicist wrote it, like they weren't. It wasn't even his words, But the fact of the matter is, for him to take such a strong stance the day before, and then just totally walk back on that, it's just unfortunate, man. You would think it would be one of the few times where a black person would truly stand with that much power. He's probably one of the most powerful minorities in Nickelodeon, But for one of our own, and when I say own, I mean black people, to take such a powerful stance on what they believe in, regardless if they're going to be fired or not. I mean, it felt good to hear him say that. And then 24 hours later, to just turn around and walk that back, man, it's just, I'm not going to call him a cornball or nothing like that. He's an older dude. Nick Cannon, when I say he was corny, he just not hood. I'm corny, you know what I mean? Like I see Nick, I see me with way less motivation and drive, It's just unfortunate, but this is when you don't have your own, when you don't have the confidence and your people supporting you, when you take these rogue stances in a quote-unquote land that isn't yours, even though I feel like this is our land because we've always been here, but you know what I mean, for semantics purposes. When you got nobody to have your back, it's really it's a lot harder to take a stand and remain resolute in whatever it is that you say, man. That's just hard. This is like me growing up. I was the oldest. Hold on, let me back this bullshit. This GPS gonna throw me off. I said, growing up, I was in my family, I was the oldest brother, But I was a pacifist. I wasn't a fighter or nothing like that. I've had fights, don't get me wrong, but it's not something I seeked. Or my little brother was more of a fighter than I was. And it's like a lot of times when problems happened, when it came to that type of stuff, I would go to him before he went to me. Like I would go to him for help, But it's like I'm going to my little brother. Like that don't make no sense. But the analogy or the comparison I'm trying to use is, if you got nobody to go to back you up, and a lot of times, you're either gonna die on your sword, or you're gonna get along with the get along, if that's how the saying goes. And though Nick was resolute, well, he seemed resolute in what he said yesterday, somebody must have gotten to his ear, or maybe he made that decision while he was high to talk all that stuff and let Professor Griff speak and say whatever, but something changed. It's kind of like what's it called, like buyer's remorse. They say when you're going shopping, you want to buy something, right? If you see something like you really like that's expensive, like over $500, they say don't buy it at that particular moment. What they say is come back the next day, and if you still have that same zeal and that same inspiration, then you purchase it. So essentially, the advice is not to make public decisions based purely off of emotions or based purely on a specific moment, And I think in Nick's case, you talk with Professor Griff, it's a barbershop conversation. Not all barbershop conversations need be public, because not everybody can handle it. You know how many barbershop conversations or salon conversations like people of other races probably have, that if it got out in a public forum, they'd more than likely be canceled too, or there'd be all types of civil unrest and uproar. You have to be a tactician. You have to be more tactful. I think a better way of getting your statements out without getting as much backlash, instead of making a statement on what you believe, just ask the question. If you pose it in the form of a question, then you take the onus off of yourself. You as the host, you as the arbiter of the show. Then it doesn't come down on you as much. People in the news, they report all kinds of heinous shit all the time. But people don't get mad at news reporters. Why? Because they understand that they're just relaying information. So I think Nick would have been more tactful if he would have just, instead of taking this opinionated position, well, this is what I believe, and I think that the Jews is X, Y, savages. Instead of saying I believe the Jews are savages and all that, knowing the type of uproar that it could cause, and knowing like the potential that it could have as far as damage your career, say some things like this. You could say something. A lot of people, and you're talking to Professor Griff. Hey, Professor Griff, a lot of people believe that the Jews are savages, and they would say this, and they would say X, Y, Z. Could you explain to me why people think that? So you take it off you. Professor Griff going to be him. Professor Griff is not super famous. He's not super rich. You know what I'm saying? But you could pose certain questions to whoever's on your show to take the onus off yourself. Because to me, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. If you're trying to hold on to all your jobs and stuff, I mean, it matters what you believe. But if you're trying to hold on to your positions and you want to stay working, you just have to play that politician game. It's kind of shady. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But see, this is what happens though. Even though you didn't take a position as far as what you believe, like concerning whichever group that you're talking about, the information is still getting put out. The message is still getting spread. You understand what I'm saying? So you didn't say it personally, but the message is still out there. And then whoever watches and listens to it, if they want to see if it's true or not, all they have to do is research. You know what I mean? Because whether Nick Cannon was politically correct or not, the viewer or the consumer or the listener, if they want to know the validity of what it is that's being disseminated on his program, they still got to do research. They still have to do the research. They still got, if they want to know for certain, like that these two individuals ain't just pulling something out of nowhere. You still have to do the research. So shame on the consumer that watches that consumes these things and watches these things without doing the research for themselves and backing it up for themselves. And it also just shows that Nick, he must lack confidence and the backing from his people, man. They say, I think black Americans, I forget the exact number, but as far as buying power, as far as how much we spend, we are a force. But we are a force unbridled because we spend a lot of our money on bullshit. You know? If that force or that energy was contained, we could have our own Hollywood. We could have our own studios, which, you know, Tyler Perry has a studio. There's the Robert Townsend. There's different black powerful figures that have their own thing, but there's no conglomerate. There's no specific collective. Nick Cannon should be able to say that, or have whichever guest he says on his platform say whatever he wants to say without the fear of being taken away from whichever lofty position that he's in, you know, because he's in a lofty position of individuals that share the same interests and ideologies that he does. Like the company that I work for, I can't go around and just like bashing like certain groups and things of that nature, or the company want to have me, you know? Like, you know what? I say a lot of crazy controversial things, right? I do. But they have a comedic spin on it. But you notice, I never just blatantly bash groups though, not like that. And I'll make like lighthearted jokes about all types of groups and all types of different types of people. But I never really go hard and call people evil and things of that nature. I think I made a joke, and it turns out Wanda Sykes had the same joke. You know what I mean? And it's pure coincidence. But I said black people will steal your wallet, but white people will steal your country. I said some shit like that. And I think she said something like black people steal your wallet, white people steal your brother, or some stuff, you know, similar concept. But it's a relatively easy joke where anybody who has any type of logic or consciousness could come to that same conclusion. So it's kind of low hanging fruit, just wordplay. So I say something like that, but I've said plenty of things about black folk. I just talk. I'm not about to go through the laundry list of different groups and things of that nature that I've spoken about. But I've never wished death on anybody, you know. And it's probably like with the things that certain people, like the heinous things that all kinds of people do throughout the world. There's a lot of people that deserve death, but I just don't like that. I don't like putting that kind of energy. Even if you deserve it, I'd rather not put it out there. That's not how I operate. I don't share fight videos. You know what I'm saying? I don't just talk about people that deserve to die. I don't believe in serving that energy. You know what I'm saying? If you know they have their day in court, and if they're going to get executed or whatever, hey, you know, that's something that they earn. But I don't like to join in the celebration of the destruction of shit, even if it fucking deserves it. That's not a type of vibe or energy that I've ever resonated with. And I think that goes along the lines with just my pacifistic nature. You know what I'm saying? I just don't enjoy that. You know, because if you just dwell on all the evil people in the world and all the negative people and all the motherfuckers that need to die, if you constantly dwell on that, eventually you're going to become a vigilante. And then you're going to go out and just start trying to exact justice on people. And you might get a few of the right ones, but sometimes you'll read the situation wrong. Innocent motherfuckers be dying. You're taking the law into your own hands, and then you're basically caught up in your own, like your own lust, your own self-righteousness, and your own rage, and you become that which you hate. Ultimately, you become that which you hate. So that's just the road that I personally would rather not travel down. You know, I keep my stuff lighthearted. I make my jokes. If I think something is a conspiracy or some bullshit, like I'll speak on that. As far as it goes, and a lot of my posts, you know, I'll create a post, and my post more than not definitely creates a conversation. You know, with a lot of people going back and forth. And you can learn a lot from a lot of my posts too, just by the different types of people that I'm friends with on my friends list, and the different types of things that they say. But when I see it get to the point where people are starting to insult each other and call names and things of nature, I start deleting the comments. I get rid of it because that's not the energy. That's not. I don't create certain posts, you know, just to become one of these Facebook groups where people just roast each other all day and give each other death threats and try to insult each other and things like that. I do it. I make these posts just to create a conversation. Sometimes to make you laugh, but more times than not, just to create a conversation. And I learn a lot from these posts that I put up. I might have an opinion on something, but I'm not really fully versed in it. So I'll ask a question, and then people they hop in, and eventually I come out learning some shit. My opinion has been changed. On more than a few things, and I admit it. Not a lot of people online. Two things I notice online. That's a sick freaking habit, man. Not a lot of people admit when they're wrong and walk some. You know what? I was wrong in our situation. I apologize. You never hear people say they're wrong. You never hear three things. You never hear people apologize. And you never hear people, you rarely hear people say, yo, you know what? I learned something new from this situation, X, Y, Z. You know what? You taught me something different. I was thinking about so-and-so, such and such in one way, but once you put it this way, you know what? You convinced me. I think differently now. You don't see that too often. I do it all the damn time. Cause I'm not, when I post certain things, if I'm not trying to make you laugh, I'm not trying to be right. I'm trying to come to an understanding. And if you're trying to come to an understanding, you have to let go of your ego and realize, there's the potential that you could be wrong in your position, and somebody could know something that you don't know. That takes a level of humility, and I'm not one of the types that be like, yo, I'm humble, like. Nah, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I try to express humility when I can, but sometimes I can come off as arrogant or know-it-all. Like, I admit that wholeheartedly. But the internet is just one of those things where, there's filters, and you can edit stuff, and you can do Photoshop or whatever, just to kind of like hide your flaws and hide your true intentions, man. It is what it is, B. So, like I said, I'll never call Nick Cannon like corny ever again. For whatever reason, he had to walk back what he had to walk back. It probably wasn't really fully thought out and fully pondered over. But he still put it out there. That's the thing. The good thing is, whether he walked it back or not, there's no denying that he still put it out there. And he put it out there for people to pay attention to. Like, how many folks that never thought of the idea of the Jews being whatever. You know what I'm saying? How we put it. Like, how many people never thought about that? And just by Nick letting Professor Griff be on his show, put them in a mind state to like possibly do this research and look up some different things on like Jewish people, who the actual Jewish people are. So I feel like something good still happened from it. It's just it just sucks that he had to walk this back, and maybe it's a reflection of the lack of support in the black community and us coming together as a collective, because eventually we're like, listen, we need some of our people to be able to speak unapologetically on that platform. We need some leaders. We need to stop seeing our black people say our black powerful people say certain things, and then they have to walk it back. They have to walk it back. Why? Because they got nobody to back them up. Just like when I was a kid, I had no, and whenever it came to beef and stuff like that, I was the oldest cousin. I never had no backup. You know what I'm saying? So I would always have to flee, or I couldn't really I had no backup. I couldn't be a shit talker and stuff like that because I had nobody to have my back to protect me. Whereas, you have people in this community, like certain family names and stuff like that, they got 40, 50, 60 cousins. Just me and my little brother. You know what I'm saying? But that wasn't, as far as bullying and stuff like that, that was a problem when I was young. But once you get a foundation in your community, the bullying stops. People usually bully the new kid, but when you're no longer the new kid, that doesn't happen as much. Because eventually people know who you are. You know what I'm saying? They learn who you are. That's in the hood. That's just what kids do. They freaking bully new people. But yeah, but if I had that backing, if I had 40, 50 cousins and uncles and all this shit, you know what I mean, and I was living in a certain town all my life, then I could pop. I would be able to. I would have the confidence to pop more shit because I know you're not gonna fuck with me because I got 50 people behind me. You understand what I'm saying? I could say whatever the hell I want to say. Yeah, you could do whatever, you could fight, but you got 50, 60 people you got to worry about. I didn't have that. The same thing with the whole Nick Cannon situation. Whoever's behind him didn't give him the confidence to stand on his square, because if he had that confidence, he wouldn't have walked back anything that he said. But he still put it out there though, and I think it's a good thing that it was put out there. People need to start doing more research to the people that are really controlling this world. I'm not going to get too deep in my opinions of it. I just say do the research. You do the research yourself, and you come up to your own conclusions. But hey, that's all I pretty much had to say. I will holler at y'all. Let me see what's going on with my guests. Let me fix my tie. All right, I'll holler at y'all. Hashtag everybody need more green. Peace.